International Conference on Arts and Humanities.
I'm Jayakrishnan Sreekumar. As you can see there, I'm from Amrita University in Coimbatore. Good morning to all of you. Mr. Gary, Professor TIIKM, organizers, and my dear friends. My topic is an analysis of the siblings bond in the Iranian movie Children of Heaven. A very frequent question that has been asked to me is how my link with Iran. Actually, I have got absolutely no link with Iran. The first Iranian personality I've met is after coming here, Sheila. But I have no link with Iran, but I am a huge fan of Iranian movies. I watch a lot of movies, international movies, South Korean, Japanese, Iranian, all that, but I have a special attachment towards Iranian movies, much because of its cultural appeal. You get to learn a lot about Iran, the culture there, the tradition, the family bond, a lot of things apart from the general theme that is communicated in the movie. So that is something which attracted me towards Iranian movies generally. So getting on to this, analysis of the siblings bond in the Iranian movie Children of Heaven. I've just divided into 4 parts: introduction, Children of Heaven, which is about the movie, portrayal of siblings bond, conclusion. Before I begin, let me just tell you that my work is original and none of it is plagiarized. This is completely mine. Yeah, 4 parts. Introduction, Children of Heaven is about the movie, as I told you. Portrayal of siblings bond is my analysis of the scenes of the movie and my interpretation. And finally the conclusion, why I have chosen this and all that. Okay? Yes, the introduction. I have got no handouts, no checks with me. It's just completely from what I feel about it. Okay? Family and family relationship, primary concern, as you can see, Gabel in 1959 has said that. This is something which you see generally in Iranian movies, especially in this movie. You can see how people, the family bond and the family relationship are explained through a movie. We get to see that in real life, don't we? But in a movie, it's very difficult that we get to see in movies. We don't see that in all the movies that we see. How a family bond, a family relationship is conveyed, is discussed. It's something that you can see in this movie. And relationship between brothers and sisters, again you can see it's strongly based on, it's very strong and based on mutual responsibility in Iran. In this movie especially, you can see how the brother and sister, their attachment towards each other, their attachment towards their family and all that, it's very clearly portrayed in this movie. So you can link it to the cultural background of Iran, for example. Many Iranian films dealt with culture, traditions and family bond. You can see all those directors, famous Iranian directors like Asghar Farhadi, Abbas Kiarostami, Jafar Panahi, all those legendary Iranian directors have all dealt with themes which tell a story about the culture, traditions and family bond. So that is something which you can witness in all these legendary Iranian movies. And that is because they talk a lot about other things, but you can witness all these things within the movie. So that is one speciality. Going back to this movie, Children of Heaven, the writer-director, Majid Majidi, legendary director, one of the best in history. Majidi has got over 2 decades of filmmaking experience. You can really see his craft in filmmaking, his craft in storytelling in all his movies, not just Children of Heaven, Song of Sparrows, Color of Paradise, Baron. There's plenty of movies to talk about. If you can see the clear identity of a director like Majid Majidi. The storyline, just to go briefly into it, I don't want to explain and bore you to death. The storyline is very brief. It's a brother decides to share his shoes with his sister. It's very interesting because in the initial part of the movie, a brother goes to a shoe mender to give his sister's shoe, and then what happens is he goes to a grocery shop with the repaired shoes, and he loses it. He loses the shoes. So he goes back to his home, he sees his sister crying and saying that you lost my shoes, I'll tell it to my dad and all that. So he feels very upset. But then what happens till the end of the movie is that they never complain, they never tell it to their dad because of the mutual love and understanding. But till it's a wonderful movie. I recommend all of you to watch it because it's very interesting how they survive till the end of the movie without a pair of shoes. Both of them have just got one pair of shoes. But thankfully in Iran, if you see the system, schooling system in Iran, boys go to school from afternoon till the evening. Girls have it from morning to, there's a gender segregation there. So this girl goes to school till afternoon, she runs all the way to her brother, gives the shoes, and then the brother takes the shoes and goes all the way to school. So you can see this arrangement till the end of the movie. It's an outstanding movie if you go. So that is the storyline. And in the end, it is very wonderfully said where there's a running race and then how the guy, it's beautifully portrayed. I'll show you some of those snapshots. I don't have videos because we don't have relevant time. I'll show you some of those snapshots. Again, another relevance, Iran's entry ticket to the Oscars. You know, many Iranian films have made it to the Oscars. Recent one, Asghar Farhadi's Separation, another extraordinary movie that you should see. Separation won the Oscars a couple of years back. Children of Heaven didn't actually make it. It made to the Oscars, but it eventually lost to Beautiful Mind. It eventually lost to Life is Beautiful. Antonio Bertolucci's Italian film, Life is Beautiful, another extraordinary film. So it got the second prize, but then it is Iran's first entry to the Oscars for the best foreign film category, and it did well at box office also. Comparison to Italian Neorealism. Italian Neorealism is a very big concept. I don't have time to explain it that much, but then I'll just say what Neorealism is, in short, in brief. Neorealism is a film movement where it talks about post-World War issues like poverty, unemployment, so inequality and all those issues. So this film talks a bit about that, it talks about poverty in Iran and how people struggle and all that. So it is a Neorealism, a representation of Italian Neorealism. Okay, so this is the interesting part, the portrayal of siblings bond, how Majidi has portrayed the siblings bond. I've taken a few scenes out of it, the relevant scenes. So this is that part where I explained some time back where he goes to his sister and says, I've looked for the shoes all over but I couldn't find them. And you can see the expression on his face, he's crying, tears rolling down, he's saying, shows the love and care he has for his sister. You can see how sad he is losing, how guilty he feels for losing his sister's shoes. There's another scene on the top left, you can see there's a conversation, interesting conversation that happens between the two, between the brother and sister. One telling the other that I'll complain to dad, I'll tell that you lost my shoes and all that. And the sister, because they can't talk aloud and let the parents know. So while the parents are involved in some other conversation, you can see them taking a notebook, writing down everything and explaining it. And at the end of it, this particular scene is at the end of it, you can see the brother gives the bigger pencil, a big pencil. He replaces the small pencil of the sister and gives the sister the bigger sister, even at the end of the argument. So you can see how the love attachment between the two. And on the right, you can see the girl. At one instance, when she is struggling, running all the way to the brother, giving the shoes, she's saying, she's just explaining him that, see, I can't take this any longer, I'm going to tell dad. She's crying. But even at the end of that scene, she never goes to her dad and tells everything till the end of the movie. So it again shows the bond, the love and attachment between the two. On the top left, again, there's another wonderful scene. It happens throughout the movie where you can see the sister running all the way to meet the brother. She runs from school for like half an hour. She runs all the way after a tiring day of school and runs to the brother just to give the shoes. So you can see in that scene. And on the right, again, this is a wonderful scene where the brother, he wins. He comes in the top 3 in the class grades, and his professor gives him a pen. Gives top 3, all of them gets a pen, and he goes home. He can't give the sister the lost shoes. So what he says is, here's the pen that I got as a gift. This is for you. And you can see the happiness on the girl's face and asking, really for me? And he says yes. So again, another scene where usually when we get something, we don't want to give it to someone, especially as a gift. We want to keep it for ourselves. We don't want to give it to someone else. So again, this is another scene where you can see the bond. There's another wonderful scene on the left where the girl happens to see that the shoes is with some other girl. So some other girl in a school has got the shoes, her lost shoes. So that is because when the boy loses the shoes in a grocery shop, there's another guy who picks up all the waste from the city. He gets the shoes, and it is his daughter. He gives the shoes to his daughter, and the boy and girl happens to know that, and he goes there. They go there, and they see that the girl is from a poor background, and so they don't want to ask them. And this shows the understanding between the two, where they don't even talk a word to each other. They see the condition of the other girl's family, and they just walk back home. So again, another scene where you can see the understanding and the link between the two. Again, the next scene on the right is another beautiful scene where, despite all these tensions and all these things between them, you can see the girl and the boy, while they were washing the shoes. Again, this concept of shoes comes in between. When they're washing the shoes, they're involved in, they're playing with the bubbles and enjoying life. And this is quite common with children, isn't it? Unlike elders like us, even amidst all these problems and issues, they want to have their occasional fun time, even they have struggling in life. So this beautiful scene where they together enjoy playing with bubbles and all that. This is a couple of scenes more. This is another scene where you can see there's a running race being arranged at the school, and says the guy who wins third prize wins a sneakers, a pair of sneakers, a pair of shoes. So this guy initially didn't opt for participating in the race because he's got a lot of other problems, he's not interested. But then as soon as he knows the third prize is a pair of sneakers, he volunteers. By the time the qualification race is over, he begs to his professor saying, "Sir, please give me just one opportunity. I promise I'll win this race," and all that. Professor initially says no, and you can see how he cries. He cries and he says, "Please give me one opportunity," and that is for his sister. Again shows the bond. And then he participates in the race. He struggles to run. He doesn't have a proper pair of sneakers. People push him. Students, other participants push him. He falls down, and even then he waits. He stands up and he runs and completes the race. And this is the final scene. It's the most beautiful scene of the movie. The third prize winner gets a pair of sneakers. But unfortunately, he tries his best and he wins first. You can't plan things like this. You can't go and plan for a third prize. He wins first and he doesn't win the pair of sneakers. So the movie ends probably in an Indian blockbuster. You would have seen him winning the third prize and dramatically winning the shoes and all that. But in some other movies maybe. But in Iranian movies and some of the most wonderful international movies, this is what you see. He's won the first prize and he's missed the pair of sneakers. So that is in fact a bit sad, but then the most beautiful end to the movie, and you find him going back home sad and crying, and he doesn't tell a word to his sister, but the sister understands. Even she doesn't tell a word back, doesn't want to let him down, and she also walks back. But then the film ends on a happy note where the father buys them a pair of sneakers. You don't see him giving it to the children, but then he has at the back of his bicycle. So it's a beautiful movie where there's plenty of scenes where this brother-sister bond is being explained. And all these scenes are, it is my analysis, because what stands out in this movie is the shoes and how both of them go behind the shoes trying to find it and all that. So this brother-sister bond is a subplot within it. But I find this something more interesting than the search for the shoes and all that. So that is why I wanted to highlight the brother-sister part of this movie. There are other things also, but this is something which clearly stood out for me. I think that is it. Yes, in conclusion, Majid, it's very important. It's very easy to have something in your mind, but very difficult to establish it, isn't it? For directors, for movies, all of us have ideas, but very difficult to put it through to the audience. Here, Majidi clearly established the siblings bond through all these wonderful scenes. And point of view shots, I hope you know what point of view shots are. A lot of shots are explained in the point of view of the children, in the point of view of the parents and all that, so we get a better understanding of all the scenes and the movie. Finally, it gives a clear hint of Iranian life and people. Absolutely relevant, because it tells how relationships are, how the culture is, and most importantly, it tells the differences between life in Iranian villages and life in Iranian cities. So that is something which is also explained within the movie. Truly wonderful. Any questions? I think it was a bit fast, but then time was an issue. Any questions?